Welcome to the Blonde Highlights podcast.
Hi, guys. We are back. And this week, we are here to have some fun. We have lots of things we want to talk about, including boundaries. We have a lot to go over. So buckle up and let's have some fun. What's going on?
Yeah, and before we get to boundaries, there's just a couple of things I got to talk about. I need to bring up a few things, and one of them is free Wendy Williams right now. Everyone's on the free Wendy movement, and I love Wendy Williams, and it's really sad to see what's happening to her. If you don't know, you should look it up, but she's basically being held in a conservatorship, and they're accused saying that she has dementia, but she has called into a few stations and is like clear and normal as day. So free Wendy.
My God, maybe there will be that movement that there was for Britney, and they'll be forced to get her out of the conservatorship. Has she proven that she doesn't need it? I don't know a lot about this.
Okay, well, basically, so it's been like over a year or so. It's been a while. There was a documentary that came out, and it seemed like maybe she was in the throes of substance abuse. But basically, her bank, Wells Fargo Bank, has held her in a conservatorship away from her family, and she's been locked in a nursing facility care place, and she was able to get out to go see her son's college graduation party, and she was just like running around like normal Wendy, talking to everybody, just like whatever, but she has no access to her money. She gets like $15 a week, and she's worth like hundreds of millions. Like, she's worth a ton of money, and the bank is holding her basically hostage. And she was able to get a phone, and she called TMZ and talked to Charlemagne and the guy from Harvey Levin from TMZ. And she was like, I do not have dementia. She was clear as day. She was like, they're holding me against my will. I hate this. This is a horrible situation. And she's like, I need everyone to fight to get me out of here. Cause she's like, oh, you can hear me talk. Like, she was just sassy and normal Wendy. Like, it's really sad.
That is really sad. Well, I remember you saying last year, like, where the hell is she?
Yeah, but then this phone call happened a couple weeks ago, but now everyone's hopping onto the free Wendy movement. I even saw like there was a post, and Paris Hilton commented on it and said like free Wendy, like everyone's getting in the free Wendy. But I think there's so much happening in the world that like she's getting lost, and I got to free my girl.
We got to free her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a lot about it, but I'm all for it. Let's do this.
Yeah. I went to the Wendy Williams show in New York one year and watched the filming of the episode. I got chosen to do Ask Wendy, and they kept moving me around. Like, I was in the crowd shots, and like they kept moving me to be like center camera. Like, I'm a huge Wendy fan. And that was
Wendy wanted you a part of her show.
She did. I got to say hi to her, and it was just like the funnest experience of my life. And I wish I could have gone back before the show ended.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Well, free Wendy.
Did you watch the Grammys?
I did. Okay, so I watched part of it, I saw, but the rest of it I just got off of TikTok. And let me just say, like, I love that it was just like all for the girls. It was all about the girls. And like, the one thing that I'm noticing about this generation of pop stars, which I think is really cool, is that they're not fully allowing the media to pin them against one another. I feel like it's really cool how supportive that they're expressing to be with one another, but then you can see them cheering each other on. Like, there's definitely a girlhood within the group of the A-list pop stars right now, and I'm loving it. Like, they are for the girls. I love it.
I saw that too, and I love that. There was a moment, and it was like Miley was like winning an award or something, and she was on stage, and it was like they showed a clip of all the other like women and music in the audience. They were like, they look like proud mothers. They're like, we've seen her grow up.
Honestly, it was really cool. Like, even just to see like Taylor Swift like dancing to all the songs, like the girls getting up for each other, like just like cheering for each other, even if they weren't winning. I think it was just really cool. Just there's like a genuine support. Whereas, you know, when we were growing up, it was always like a battle against all the pop girlies, and they were always against each other. So I'm loving this. Like, no, we're all here. We're all having a good time. They're mentioning different things about one another in their speeches. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah. And one thing about the pop girls from our era is that what's crazy is that a lot of them knew each other since they were like small children, because of Mickey Mouse Club and through like Star Search and all the things. And they were like showbiz kids and grew up together. And that is kind of sad that there is a lot of like tension between them. Still to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, it was like always like Britney versus Tina, you know, it was like the whole thing. Whereas like, I just think this is really cool. And I think like, remember when they did what is it? The Moulin Rouge song? What is it?
Oh yeah, Moulin Rouge. Yeah.
Yes. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? That song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
With like Pink and Maya and all those. Yeah.
All of them. We need to have like a moment like that with all of the girlies, like Chapel, Sabrina, Charlie, like Billy. Like, let's get them all in like a cool song and dance like that together and like a big collaboration.
Yeah, you know that they've tried to repeat that. They did. There was a song that was like with Jessie J, Ariana Grande, and somebody else. I'm blanking on it. And that was what was that called? It was a huge success. I saw a video on this yesterday, and so they were talking about there was that song, and then there was the song that was like "Don't Call Me an Angel," and it had Miley. No, that was the one "Don't Call Me Angel." That was big. And then there was another one that was like Miley, Lana Del Rey, and Ariana Grande, and it wasn't as big success. I'm mixing up the names in this, but it wasn't a huge success, but it was good. But then there's one that just came out this week. And it has Lisa, that's from one of the K-pop groups. And God, I'm blanking on who else. But it was 3 bigger pop stars that I really don't know that well. And they have a new song that just came out this week. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, this is going to be the song of our generation. That's like the group of the girls. But I don't know, because it's like, it's not the girls that we know.
It's not. And I think that the girls that were at the Grammys, they're bringing such a power energy that it's like, let's get this. Let's have a moment.
Exactly.
This. Oh my gosh. I just thought it was so much fun, but I hated what they did to Billie. I hated that they kept putting the camera on her every time that she lost, and then like finally showed her final loss with tears in her eyes. I was like, can we just like look away from her, please?
Yes, exactly.
Like, not put the camera on her in her like terrible moment. I just thought that was bullshit.
Exactly. Okay, so the song, Alex just told me, the song has Doja Cat, Lisa, and who else was it? Ray. We love Ray.
Oh,
Ray's the girl with like the bob that can sing her ass off.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, I haven't heard it. I need to listen to it.
Yes.
I was like,
yeah, so I was trying to Google it, but it is good. Yeah. So that's supposed to be like that song like that. But I'm with you. I want to see Sabrina. I want to see our girls at Chapel and what's her name? Billie Eilish.
Yes. I was never a Billie Eilish fan. And honestly, I feel like ever since she did that song Guess with Charlie, I have been like in love with Billie Eilish. I think she is like the most beautiful woman too. Like, I think I have like an actual girl crush on her. Like, seriously, I see her and I'm like, I would.
I remember that when that song came out, Guess, you were like, I may be having a lesbian era right now. Like,
she's in her lesbian era for sure.
She's like,
I'm proud of it. Like, I would do it. I would cross the line for Billie Eilish.
She's like, I'm about to flick my G-string up on stage.
Yes, I would. Oh my God. I would be the biggest fangirl at her concert. I'd be like, take me, Billie.
I was surprised when Charlie performed she performed that song, Guess. Like, she did a whole montage of a bunch of songs from Brat, and she did that. And Billie was just in the audience. I'm like, why didn't Billie get up there and like sing her part of it real quick?
Billie was that song, but whatever.
Yeah, I did hear though. Okay, so basically, like, Cowboy Carter won Album of the Year, and there's controversy about that, and people have a lot to say. But people were saying like it was Billie Eilish should have got that or whatever. But the Recording Academy actually said that of the votes for Album of the Year, it was Cowboy Carter, and then it was Brat. So Brat came second place for Album of the Year.
My God.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But it was tough competition. I mean, there was so much talent.
It was so hard. And like, I think Cowboy Carter is like a big win. I think that let's just be happy for Beyonce, you know?
Yeah. I know a lot of people are up in arms about it, but I love Beyonce. I love Cowboy Carter. I've been listening to it the last few days. And then I saw this piece where this guy like breaks down songs and gives meanings and everything like that. And he had this amazing 5-part series on how the song Daughter on Cowboy Carter is a response to Daddy Lessons that was on Lemonade, and that she performed at the CMAs with the Dixie Chicks or the Chicks. And it was like crazy controversy. And apparently Cowboy Carter is made in response to that performance at the CMAs and her like kind of being snubbed and people being angry about it. But that song, Daughter, is a response to Daddy Lessons, because in Daughter, she talks about murdering somebody. And and then there's like the Italian opera in it too. It's a beautiful song. But he broke down every single line of the lyrics and how it was a response to Daddy Lessons that was like shoot, or like talking about shooting somebody or something. And this is the response.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay, I need to go on a TikTok binge after this.
Yeah. I have to send it to you, because here's the thing is, do you know that sound with Kathy Griffin that's like, I need to talk to a gay person. I need to talk to a gay person.
Yeah.
That was me yesterday at work. I was like, I need to talk to a Beyonce fan. I need to find a Beyonce fan.
I hate when that happens, when there's like a tea that like only a specific person is going to be able to join in on this. Like, I have that sometimes where I'm like, I need to talk to Kyle. Like, I need to talk to Kyle right now because she's the only one that's going to understand this urgency. Like this actually happened yesterday, but I knew you were busy, so I didn't call you. I actually downloaded the Gypsy Rose audiobook.
Oh my God.
And she went into like, I actually had to stop listening because I was home alone. I was getting creeped out. And she was talking about, I'll just say this quickly. She was talking about how like even chewing her food was like a trigger for her. And she was like, it's food, y'all. And I was like,
oh my God,
I need to talk to Kyle right now.
So did she narrate her book?
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
You do her voice so freaking well. It's insane.
Oh, I know that. I know. It's my hidden talent.
Yeah. You are a good Gypsy impersonator. But okay, I did send you this though, that I was obsessed. I just felt like while we're in just like a flaming pile of garbage right now on earth, a present came to us from God. And that was the American woman in Pakistan. I obsessed. And if you don't know, you need to look up American woman in Pakistan. That will give you in there for you to say that. But basically, she is this New Yorker woman that I guess is Muslim, but maybe not. I don't know for sure. But she met this guy and I only say she's Muslim because it makes sense in the story, but she met this guy online. She catfished him, apparently with a Nicki Minaj filter. And I am disturbed that she's actually younger than I am. So she married him online, technically in Utah. She's from New York. So they're married online, and she's been catfished him this whole time. So she shows up in Pakistan and is like, I'm your wife. And he's like, who the hell are you? And she's like 32. He's 18. Okay. So him and his mom get up out of there because she camped out in the apartment complex. Like she's camping outside the apartment complex.
18?
Yes.
Stop it. Oh my God. I didn't know. Okay. This is getting better.
So him and his mom take off because she's not leaving. She's there. So they run
up. She's like, what is this?
Yeah. So apparently this just all blew up this last week, but she's been there since October, camped out in front of his apartment building. Okay. So then she's camped out there and she's met everybody. She knows everybody in the neighborhood. She's friends with everybody. It's all going down. Well, apparently the news picks up on it months later this last week. And the Pakistan press is obsessed with her. And she's Madonna. You know what I mean? Like she is the biggest star in Pakistan at the moment. Everyone's obsessed with her. She's holding press conferences everywhere. There was this guy, he's like a philanthropist and he is like very well respected in Pakistan. He's like took her under his wing to like help her. Well, she doesn't like him. So she's like, shut up, you man. She's like, no one wants to hear you talk. And she's always yelling at me because there'll be like microphones surrounding her everywhere. Like she's the freaking president. And she's like, so here's the thing. But now she starts demanding money. She's like, I'm demanding the Pakistan government give me $20,000 up front, okay, weekly. And then she's like, you know what? No, 100 grand down, 20 grand weekly is what I need. And she's demanding it. And it's just ridiculously funny. Unfortunately, there is some mental stuff going on, I do believe, because her son made a video and said something. Apparently, she's married and has kids back home in New York, and she's on this thing in Pakistan. And so they take her under her wing. There was this police officer, her name's Shabana, and she's kind of like a sassy police officer. Love her. Apparently, I heard that she was a precinct chief, because I was confused because she was wearing high heels with her police uniform.
Damn.
Yeah. And so Shabana is with her now all the time, and she's doing the press conferences. She's meeting everybody that got her new clothes, new everything. And it just really showed like hope for the world that these people were so kind to her and like took them under her wing, even though she was demanding money and demanding everything and being absolutely hard to deal with. They took care of her and they helped her. I guess she flew back to New York this week.
Show's over.
She
gets, at the end of the day, like if it is a mental illness, we hope that she gets the help that she needs. But also, I've seen some of those press conferences and like her confidence level was unmatched.
Yeah.
Just like whatever I say, it goes.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And she's just like, she's letting everybody have it. She ain't taking no shit from nobody. And everywhere she goes was like a million paparazzis, a million news cameras, microphones everywhere. Like she was going in places and she's like, I'm going to fix the city up. She's like demanding money from the government. And she's like, I'm going to replace this. We're going to fix the city up. She's like, y'all need help over here.
She's like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
You're here for me. I'm also here for you, though.
Oh, yeah. She's like, we're rebuilding the city right now.
Oh, my God. God bless her.
Yeah. I just hope that she can get help in New York. The level of hair she got there.
My one question, though, in all of this, when you start speaking about it, is like, you can get married online?
That's what I said.
What?
Yes.
How can you just like get married online?
Well, there's something to it. Maybe it's like a law in Utah, because I know that she was married online, but she's technically married in Utah. So maybe it's like a Utah loophole of some sort. I don't know. But for something to do with Utah, and that's how it was done online.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Damn.
But apparently she has a man and kids back in New York that she left. So I don't know.
She's like, I just needed a fucking break.
That's
Give me an 18-year-old, just like take me away for a bit. Give me attention, pamper me, give me money. Like, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. Like, I just needed a fucking break. Like,
where are we going? I think we need to roll up somewhere and get some money.
Yes, let's do it. We need to plan this.
Are we going to Bangladesh?
Not overly planned. I want to go anywhere with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Papua New Guinea or something?
Let's do it.
I think somewhere tropical.
I need a tan. Like, I am ghostly. I am so ghostly. Oh my God. Do you have a highlight? Do you got a low light?
Okay, I do have a highlight. Highlight is she got her seeds started. I got the seeds started. I got a setup in my bedroom with the grow lights. We got like a million seeds going. I probably overplanted. I still got to get some corn and cucumber seeds, get that going. But that's the highlight right there. She got a whole seed growing operation going down. And I'm a farmer. And I just remembered I forgot to turn the lights back on. But so hopefully they'll have low light. Okay. We're going to get into politics a little bit right here with the low light, but it's not serious. Okay. But it is, because it's like, big girls, this is an attack on us. Okay. Why did they ban packages from China through USPS? How am I supposed to get how am I supposed to get my big girl clothes? You know what I mean? Because here's the thing. I want to buy American. I want to buy local. But when you're a certain size, it's hard to find those clothes at an affordable price.
Affordable.
Yes. So some people like their Shein. Some people like their whatever. I love cider. Cider's based in LA, but they ship from China. So I'm like, I need to get my clothes.
So all like the fast fashion places are what?
Well, okay, here's the thing. So there is, I guess, so it's USPS. So they can ship with DHL, I think, and UPS.
Okay.
But I looked at like cider and they ship sometimes to USPS. So I'm like, I don't know. Obviously, they're going to figure it out. They're going to find a loophole around it. I don't know if it's going to cost more money in shipping or what's going to happen. But I was like, that's an attack on us.
Uh-huh.
Our way of life. We need our cute, thick clothes, because that's the other thing too. I mean, yeah, I can't say too much about that, I guess.
We won't deep dive, but we're gonna put it out there that this sucks.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. I would say, hey, I could order for you, ship it from Canada, but we know that that's also going to be a problem soon.
Yes, but I will get I think they'll ship it through DHL or something. That I think we'll figure it out. We're gonna survive through it. But I was like, what about my clothes?
I need to look cute though.
I know. They're like, they make really fashionable big clothes, you know?
I do like cider. I think cider's cute.
I do too. I'm obsessed.
Their qualities, and they make things to order as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't know that.
What do you mean?
Like, this is what I heard. So maybe don't like hold me to it. But if you order from cider, they don't just have everything sitting around. They make it to order.
Oh.
Yeah. They don't make like, say, 100 pairs of the same pants and then it gets wasted if nobody buys it. They only make it if you order it. And then it takes time for them to produce it, make it, and then they send it out. That's typically why you can't get like super fast shipping for cider.
Okay, you know what? That makes sense, because a lot of times, because I go through and I favorite things, like I go through like once a week and I click on what's new in the curve section, and then I favorite what I like and I don't like. And then I have a whole like shop list of stuff that I've liked. And when I scroll through there, some of the stuff that I liked like a long time ago is still available. And I'm like, that's weird, because most places after a month or so, it's like discontinued or they're no longer in stock or whatever, sold out. So that would make sense.
Yeah. Which I think is like a more sustainable way of doing it. I think it's great. I mean, look, like people say that like we're hurting the environment by ordering fast fashion and this and that and that. I think that if you're shopping in a sustainable way, which means like not over shopping, not everybody can afford like top dollar clothes. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with buying things from somewhere like Shein or Fashion Nova or places like this, but just be mindful in how much you're consuming. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like you have to shop within your budget. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, and I don't know if you believe this or not. I mean, this is really shocking probably, but I recycle my clothes. Like I wear them more than once. I make an appearance, and then I'll make another appearance in the same top. I probably made several appearances on this podcast with a similar top, and that's just because I want to save the earth, and not because is there any other reason.
Girlies.
Yeah.
Girlies.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, and that's what it is. I try to do that. Like I'll reuse some of the clothes or I'll do whatever, and I'll like all my winter stuff will get packed away, and I'll reuse it and reuse it. Obviously I need to add things into my wardrobe, obviously, whatever, but I'm trying to be a smarter shopper where I'm not just like buying everything because I like it. I'm like, okay, well, am I going to wear this? Because I buy a lot of things that I like that I'm like, I'm never going to wear it though. I've gone into the mentality of shopping being like, I like this for you because like I love it for you, but I'm not going to wear it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so but I feel like I wear my clothes to the dirt. You know what I mean? I wear them over and over and over again, especially with work. And I go back and I re-sew them when things rip or whatever. I am going to start sewing a lot of my own like lounge clothes with all natural fiber because I get a sewing machine.
I can't wait.
Yes.
Because you're going to sell me things too.
I'm going to make you some stuff too. I think it's a little matching like lounge wear.
Yes. Oh my God, we're going to be so cute.
Yes. What's your highlight?
At the sewing machine. I think my highlight is just I've been super busy with work, which I'm so grateful for. As we spoke about in previous episodes, like a lot of the plus size modeling world has been like very slow for a lot of girls. So I'm so grateful that I'm now having a peak where I'm like, okay, I'm having a good ride. So I'm just hoping it lasts. It's been slow for me for a while. So this is really good. I was in New York, Toronto, Utah, and then back to New York and in Toronto all week. I did 7 flights in like 5 days, which I haven't done in so long, but it was so much fun. And while I was doing it, I was like, oh my God, like this has been a hot minute since I've like burnt myself out really from work. So it felt really good though. Like it felt nice. And like, At first, I was a bit hesitant of doing the flight to Utah because it was so last minute. And Michael was like, and it's a long flight from Toronto. And he's like, just go on the flight and just watch TV. Like, you're not going to be, like you get a break. And I was like, yeah, what am I talking about? So, yeah, it was really cool. I got a nice long break. Yeah, it was so much fun. I think my low light is because of that, I had to cancel an appointment at my dentist and they got so mad at me.
Oh my God.
I had trouble with my dentist. I know. And they're like, you need to give a full 48 hours. And I was like, I gave like 35, but I was like, I messaged you like as soon as I found out, like, I'm so sorry. But my dentist is very upset with me. And now I'm on the no schedule list. So that means that I'm no longer allowed to schedule my dentist appointments. I have to call in and see if there's time for me available.
Like the day of? Oh my God.
Yeah. So if I have like a free day, I have to be like, oh, am I going to do this, this, and this? Or am I going to choose to go to the dentist?
Oh my God.
And they were like, you need to be on top of it. And I'm like, I'm trying to be on top of it. I can't help that I had to work. Like,
got reprimanded.
Yeah.
And, interesting that we're going to move into this because they set a boundary and you crossed their boundary.
I did.
Because I was going to talk about work boundaries in which I have to set boundaries with clients. And I'm like, but I have only done that to like what they did to you. I've only done that to one person.
Well, it's also like, it's not like I didn't message at all.
Yeah.
And it's not like I even messaged the day before my appointment.
Exactly.
I messaged 2 nights before my appointment. Like as soon as, okay, so we confirmed the job, but then my agent was like, hold up, like, let's make sure we can find a flight. As soon as my flight was booked, I messaged my dentist.
Yeah.
I tried to do the responsible thing, but I understand. Sometimes you are the boundary. Sometimes people have to make boundaries about you.
Yes. But that is a little like, I get it, but it also it's like, it's a lot, You don't always know.
Yeah. So now I'm not allowed to make dentist appointments.
Oh God. Well, that's actually kind of better. You can just like call up and be like, you got any cancels today?
Oh, looks like I can't come.
Whoopsies. So getting into boundaries, like I just like didn't want to make it like boundaries are boundaries and respect my boundaries, which is, that's what we're saying. But also like, what is a boundary? I think was a good place to start because I think boundaries is one of those keywords that get used a lot, like gaslighting or one of these other things. And it's like safe space or whatever. And it's like, I think that like, let's dive into like, what does that mean? Other than just say the word is a key word, And one of the things I was looking up some different definitions. And one that I really liked was boundaries are interpersonal limits shaped by personality, culture, and context. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think that was basically saying, and I have several definitions, but that one I like because it was basing it off of boundaries can change depending on the context of the situation. It can depend on your culture. Like some cultures are like kiss on the cheeks. Some are like do something different, and then others are, also personality wise too, can shift from person to person of what people is acceptable. What are people limits with you,
Yeah. Like personal preferences.
Yeah, exactly. And did you have anything that could kind of say with that?
No, not so much in like defining boundaries. I do think that there's like a range though of different types of boundaries. So I think that there are boundaries in a lot of things that we do. But again, I think because it's such a, not trigger word, but like one of those words, like one of those reused words that it's kind of tiring to hear the word boundaries. But I think that there's boundaries you need to set in basically all of your relationships. And I think that it's important, there's sexual boundaries, there's financial boundaries, there's personal, there's friendship boundaries, there's work boundaries, marital, there's boundaries that you need to set with your own kids, which I don't think people really realize how important that is. But there's boundaries in like everything that we do. So I think that it's important to really understand that it's okay to set them. So I think it's good that we dive into like the different types of boundaries, because there's things that like, even just learning this, it was like, oh, like reading about it more, I was like, oh yeah, there are boundaries that I need to set here, here, and here, like little reminders. And I think that it comes down to your own personal preference, but also self-reflecting and realizing like, how do things make you react? Like, is this bringing out a positive or a negative side of me? You know what I mean? And I think like recognizing that in all the different categories is important.
Exactly. And I think we all have, whether you had defined it or not, we all have boundaries with people. We've all had boundaries set with us. And whether you define it that way or not, that's what it is. It is such a way of life. And I think to understand that can help you help your mental health, your, physical health, it's what protects you.
It affects your overall happiness. So what are the types of boundaries we should go over?
Okay, so I was trying to get like a good list, because I think we wrote down like a lot of ones that we really thought were smartest, but this is kind of set by some different resources that I found on the internet. And one of them, the like physical boundaries. So like privacy of personal space, preference of like physical touch, emotional boundaries, which is like respect for the other person's emotions and feelings, intellectual thoughts, intellectual beliefs, and ideas being respected by the other person. Time, this is a big one. Miss skipping out on the dentist. This is a big one for me because of my job. And then this is something that I really have to set a boundary with, because it can affect my income. And that's timeliness, and respecting other people's personal availability to spend time with you. And that's a big one too. Like, I get really caught up on like time stuff, because it's like, I got a lot of things to do in a day. I can't spend half my day waiting on you. There's like material ones, boundaries, which is like respecting someone's personal property. Don't come over and like rip up someone's couch or something. Spiritual, which is like respecting someone's personal beliefs and spiritual journeys, by respecting someone's religion, that kind of stuff. And then sexual boundaries, which is, I think pretty obvious. And that's the comfort with sexual touch and consent from one person to another.
I think I have recognized the areas that I've had to set boundaries for. So the main places that I myself have set boundaries for are my work, my friendships, my marriage, when I was single, my dating boundaries, as well as now, like I set boundaries with the kids. I think that it's important, like say, let's go into my dating boundaries. I think it's really important to set boundaries for yourself of what you will and will not accept or tolerate. And I think that that's also knowing your self-worth and knowing that you don't need to put up with certain things that don't make you comfortable. So if somebody's inconsistent with their communication, they're inconsistent with what they say they're going to do versus what they're actually doing, you're allowed to set that boundary to be like, especially in the early days, to be like, I am not accepting this. And you're allowed to communicate your boundaries as well, to be like, I am not somebody that can work off of the things that you're giving me right now. Like, I'm going to need more than that. And if you can't accept it, then like, that's it. I think really holding true to your boundaries is important. Otherwise, you're walking all over yourself, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I did hear, like, there was one thing I found in researching this is that sometimes like narcissistic abuse can make you like have less boundaries, which can make you more vulnerable to certain situations. So that's, I think, is an important thing, because I think a lot of people have had some sort of narcissistic abuse in their life and have learned to not have boundaries with other people. And so I think boundaries are a great way to protect your own mental health, your physical health, to protect, your time, your everything. And especially in dating, especially with dating, and especially with new friendships or new people in your life, it's very important to have boundaries in that way.
I think also too, one thing that took me a while to admit, and I know is hard for a lot of other parents out there, but it is setting boundaries with your kids. And I think that that is so important, because I have experienced a lot of mental burnout with the boys. Like, just, I'm constantly with them, doing everything for them, making sure that they have everything they need. They're on time. They're the happiest that they can be. Like, that's my goal, just to make them happy. And I find that because of that, I'm constantly just like emptying my cup into theirs and pouring and pouring and pouring. And I realized like there needs to be some sort of boundary where it's like after a certain time of day, it's like I need to set some time just to be like, hey, I'm taking some alone time right now. I need to go do this for like a half an hour. They're old enough where they can be self-sufficient. But even if they weren't old enough, I think that it's important to tell your partner or your support person to be like, you need to watch the kids right now because I physically and mentally need a break. And setting that boundary of like, when I'm taking my time for a little bit, like if I want to have a bath, like you don't need to come and knock on the door. It's not that important. You can wait till I come out. Do you know what I mean? Unless it's obviously like an emergency. But I had to really learn that like, it's okay. Like you're not a bad parent for like saying like, give me like a 30-minute timeout. Because I was hiding at one point from the kids, like hiding to take a break. And I'm like, this is messed up. Why am I hiding in my own home eating an ice cream in my closet? Like, no, I'm setting these boundaries.
No, exactly. And I think it's good, especially with kids, when you set those boundaries, that teaches them how to set boundaries for themselves when they're older. And I think it's an important quality to know how to do that because like there's a lot of people who don't. And then that causes a lot of issues in people's lives and they don't know how to respect boundaries and they don't know how to set boundaries for other people.
Have you ever been the person that you feel that someone has set a boundary for?
Yeah. I would say like in my wild partying days, there was people who set boundaries with me. You know what I mean? Like there was people in my life that got sober. They had to be more responsible. I don't know. They were like, you're too wild. I cannot. And it was also that kind of boundary of like, I remember there's a person that was very close with me and he got sober and he cut me out of his life. And it was hard for me. But what I realized is that for his own health and for his life, to save his life from what he was everything involved in, he needed to set a boundary that I could not be in his life. And it was hard for me, but I had to accept it. And I've seen him a few times and I've said hello and it's just as simple. And I know that as hard as it was, he had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's it sometimes. Like, even if you don't want to let go of a certain relationship or a friendship, you kind of have to sometimes in order to grow. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that person like loves you dearly, but like just had to do it for their own personal gain, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure there's been plenty of other boundaries set with me, but that's one that I really think of. And then also, this is kind of in this topic right here is I've had friendships with narcissistic people. And I have seen where there has been like a toxic side of boundaries. Like, well, people, like, I've noticed that sometimes, like, a narcissistic person will weaponize boundaries against you to create them to be the center of attention at all times and for everything to go their way at all times. And what
do you mean? Like, what?
Essentially, I've seen people that have a lot of narcissistic traits being like, it's always them going to pick the place, them going to pick the time, them going to pick everything. Like you have no say in your own destiny and what you are doing because that's their boundary. And they have found that when they use that word boundary, that's a limit that people can't cross. So they've learned how to weaponize that against friends. And it should be like, yes, they use it as like a loophole. And it really sucks because it's like, you have to follow people's boundaries. But then also at a point, it's like, these are not just boundaries. This is you creating a situation for you to always be the center of attention and for everything to go 100% your way and to make zero compromise in any situation.
Yeah. It's boundary abuse.
It's boundary abuse.
It's boundary abuse.
Yeah.
I think it's important, like, when you're in a situation like that, it's like, how do you respect somebody's boundaries? But if their boundaries are like something like that, where, they're boundary abusing or whatever, or you're just like, these boundaries stuck, or this isn't going to work for me. Like, how do you navigate a relationship like that? Whether it's work, friends, or anything, like, now it's like relating back to my dentist, like, how am I going to navigate my life now without being able to make a dentist appointment because my dentist set a boundary? It's like, you kind of have to decide at that point whether that person's boundary can like work in your life or not. And sometimes I think that that's a challenge.
Yeah, that is a challenge. And that's a part of it too. It's like, if I feel that if that's their boundary and they're going to stick with it, and I just can't accept that, I guess like the friendship just can't really work, or you're going to have to set your own boundaries with them to be like, I can't go along with this all the time, And so I guess that there's a trickier side to it when it comes to that. And I just thought I thought of that, and I was thinking, and I wish I can't say the exact details, but I'm hoping I'm getting that across in a way that it can be weaponized against you, and to not think you're crazy, because sometimes that can be. And it's like, do you want to be friends with that person? And if so, you need to set a boundary with them of, I've learned to accept this for these reasons, and I have to keep an arm's length distance because I can't be hurt by this situation.
For sure. And I think that one thing that you really need to do, what you need to do is really reflect on, like, when do you know it's time to set a boundary? And I think that the biggest time is when it's judging by the way that you feel around someone. Because if you're around someone and you're constantly, like how you said, feel like they're weaponizing the power that they have over you by abusing their boundaries or whatever. But if you are in a position where it's like you are constantly just feeling unhappy, unheard, you're anxious around somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to cut them out. I mean, like, this could be a family member, this could be your own mother. And it's like, you don't need to totally cut them out. You don't need to never speak to them or never see them. You just need to realize that, like, there is something that is hurting you or triggering you or like making you super anxious. And if you're feeling that in any of your relationships, whether it's work, family, whatever, that's when you need to stop and assess and be like, why is this affecting me? Is it this only person? Like, you kind of need to go through the who, what, when, where, why, and how type situation. And then really consider, like, what are my boundaries here? Like, maybe someone that you see 7 days a week who is like constantly making you anxious or whatever, maybe that's someone that you have to cut back to like 4 times a week, or you need to, not see the certain friend as much, or whatever it may be.
Exactly. Have anyone set boundaries with you?
I think so. I think that there's been like 1 or 2 friends that I think have maybe outgrown me, which is fine. I feel like their boundaries are very much like they want to see me, but maybe in small doses. I could kind of like sense that the way that the plans are made or the way that they kind of go about hanging out with me seems very just like, I'm like, okay, like, clearly there's some sort of boundary. I don't understand why, because I don't feel like I've done anything. However, I think it's more of a sense of like, they've maybe just outgrown me as a person, which is fine. I've outgrown some of my friends, like, it happens. So I definitely think that people set boundaries with me.
Yeah. And I was just thinking too, I think when I was going through a lot of my health problems, like, there was a while where I was just very depressed and I was very negative. And I think people definitely set boundaries with me of like, I can't be listening to your negativity all the time. And I get that. But that was something I think about that was done, set against me for that reason. And that could be a thing too. Be self-aware of how you make other people feel, because they may set a boundary of, how close you can be to them. One thing I did want to say too is, if you're like unclear of like, how do I set a boundary with somebody? Because I think some people don't know, and I think I had found this 3-step guide on setting a boundary with somebody, because it's kind of hard to describe how to do it, but I thought this was a really good way of saying it. And they were like, step 1, be as clear and straightforward as possible. Like, do not raise your voice. Don't like make it a fight, but just be like clear, straightforward. Like, this is the situation right here. And then state your need or request directly in terms of what you'd like, rather than what you don't want or like. So don't be like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. It's like, I would like it if you treated me this way, or I would like it if this happened. Yeah. And step 3 is accept any discomfort or that arises as a result, whether it's guilt, shame, or remorse. Know that there may be a reaction. Know that someone may be a little upset, But also don't feel shame about that, because you do have to protect yourself, and you do have to, it's a healthy thing to have set these boundaries.
I think you can also set silent boundaries. That's mostly how I set my boundaries. I don't tell anyone that I'm setting a boundary around them, except for like the but or Michael. But like if I'm setting a boundary with a friend, I don't speak it, because it's not necessarily anything that that person could be doing wrong. It's just maybe it's just not like aligning with where I am right now, and I just naturally act out my own boundaries.
Yeah, I
Do you
see
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah,
It's like I can't see this person. I can't party with this person anymore. This person, whatever. It's like I will naturally just start maybe coming around them less or doing whatever, and I just set my own boundaries that way without expressing it.
exactly. And I think that's a great point of it too, is that a lot of boundaries are set silently, and use the clues, the context clues to pick up on that. But also, if this is someone that needs to stay in your life, this is someone, like, sometimes you do need to address it straight on like that, to be like, this isn't going to work. And that's the thing too, we were kind of wanted to bring up about how to deal with people who have no boundaries. And that's something that I was saying to that was, one, if you have to, may have to say, like, directly, like, don't be like, you don't have no boundaries, girl, but like, be like, I'm sorry, I have to set this like kind of boundary, or I need you to not do this to me, because there is a lot of people who do not know about boundaries, and I've witnessed a lot of it, people that just, the concept was gone on them, and it can be overwhelming. And I think sometimes I've had to, build the wall around myself, and be like, this is a limit that I'm not letting you cross. And it's a complicated situation when you have that, but you have to, and unfortunately, I feel like when you're around someone who doesn't have any boundaries, you are on guard, because you don't know what's coming next.
Exactly. And especially like when people, the worst part is that like if you express a boundary to someone and they continuously keep doing it, and if it's something that you're like, look, when you treat me this way or when you do this, and they keep doing it, that is a lack of respect. It's a judgment, or it's like a character flaw of their own. Like clearly they're not respecting you. And that's when you kind of just need to be like, okay, I've had enough. And you don't need to accept people. You don't need to accept people's habits. You don't need to accept their actions. You don't need to accept their words. Like you can eliminate, and that's fine. Like if you have set a clear boundary and they're abusing it or just ignoring it, like it's okay to be like, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another point too, we want to bring up to that, is that sometimes you can outgrow boundaries. And, maybe the friendship boundaries that I had with me and Kris, like we've become so close over the years. I usually at my house so many times that I think we've broken down a lot of barriers, and have, there's less boundaries there, because we would trust each other more, respect each other more. There's a lot to that. And I wanted to say too that, like, for me, something that was a boundary with me that's really hard, that I've worked on, and I think I really struggled with hugging, or like, especially there's some people too, like they do the double cheek kiss. I had butted someone's grandma the last time I tried to do the double cheek kiss. I can't do it. Like it freaks me out. I'm like, this is not my face, But that's a cultural thing where that is very normal and very acceptable. But that for my culture, that's a little hard for me to handle it. But the hugging, I don't know why I have such an aversion to people hugging me. But then over time, I have lessened that boundary, because maybe the cultural that I live in now is different than what was before, and now I'm like, give me a hug, I don't care, but that was something that's really hard for me. Another one that's really hard for me is the I love you. I don't know why, but that was like a weird thing for me. And I had set that boundary of like, I don't say that,
I remember I disrespected your boundary, because like when Kyle and I first started being friends, I would say, I love you. And literally you were like, I don't say that. But guess who says it now?
I did. I know.
Down Kyle.
But that was something like I wanted to get rid of that boundary. Do you know what I mean? Like that was my choice. But that is something I still work on. That is still, because it's my choice to like let go of that a little bit. I don't know why, but it was like such a thing to me because I don't know. I don't want to say maybe I did. It's just not something that was ever said. And in my head, it was like such a big thing to say, I love you. And I'm like, everyone's just like throwing that around. And now it's like random people that I see, like, I don't know, they're like, I love you. I love you too.
Love you.
But that was a boundary that I had set for a long time and that I chose to like lighten up on. But the key word is I chose to lighten up.
You chose. Yes.
Exactly.
And I didn't break you down.
Yeah. Is there like any boundaries that you've outgrown?
I'm trying to think, to be honest. Like, I feel like I don't know. I feel like not so much that I've outgrown, but I think I keep adding things to my roster. I think that I'm constantly recognizing certain boundaries but I can't think of anyone. And I'm sure I have outgrown certain ones, although I can't think of any, to be honest. I don't have an exact situation.
Oh, yeah. But what are some of the boundaries that you set with people?
I'm kind of like, I'm kind of someone that it depends on each person, to be honest.
Yeah.
So some people I can allow in my home and like they can do whatever they want and like whatever. And then there's some people where it's like, I'm not that comfortable. Like, I'm not going to bring you into my home and like have, a sleepover and like do all that. Like, I feel like it's, for me, the boundaries that I set are like per person and based off of my comfort level with them. I feel like there's a boundary in which I don't allow certain disrespect towards me. I think before I used to be such a pushover that I was really scared to stand up for myself. I was really scared to self-advocate. I wouldn't, do certain things out of fear of pissing someone off. And now I'm like, no, I'm an adult. I can hold my own. If this person's going to be upset with me, that's fine. But I need to learn that, like, I can cross a certain boundary of myself of like, okay, I'm not allowed to speak up, or I'm not allowed to, just make everybody, like, I just have to make everyone happy. And I feel like in doing that, I think that it's set a level of respect that I have around myself that kind of just not, I don't want to say dictate, but kind of just like gives an example of like how I like to be treated and what I will and will not tolerate at all from anybody.
Yeah. I was thinking like some of the examples of boundaries that I have with people is, one, there's certain people that I'm like, we're not talking about politics. I'm just like, but like some people I'm like, let's do it. But there's some people where I'm like, I've had to tell people like, listen, do not bring this up to me again. I do not want to have this conversation with you at all because I love our friendship and I love whatever. We do not bring it up. And then I have a lot of boundaries with clients because I tend to allow clients to walk all over me, and which is a thing. And I've had to like not crack down because I don't want to be that person. Because I know some people have maybe a little too much boundaries with their clients, but you definitely like don't waste my time. That's a big one. My number one boundary that gets under my skin the most is don't waste my time. And that's a big one. Another thing is like I've had issues with people that like will always jump to pay for stuff, or like dinner or drinks, whatever, and then they use that against you.
My God, yes.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I would have paid for stuff. Like, but then they're like, but I paid for this for you and I paid for that for you. I'm like, I know, but you wouldn't let me. Like, I don't do something nice if you're going to use it as collateral against me. So that's about, there's certain boundaries I have. There's a few people in my life where I'm like, no, you're not paying for a thing. Like, we're not doing this. Like, you buy a drink, I buy a drink because there's a tally being happening and the tally is going to be used against me. Having a roommate. There's me and my roommate have a lot of boundaries. We lived together for almost 8 years or so. And that's because we respect each other's boundaries and we have set them with each other. And I think that that's why we are, have such a great relationship and have lived together so long.
I agree with that though. Cause I think like when you live with someone, like even though Michael's my husband, he is also like my forever living partner. So like, I think especially when you live with someone, setting those boundaries where it's like, these are the things that like I cannot live with. And these are the things that like, especially with the boys and Michael, and they're all boys and whatever, it's like, these are my boundaries and like you cannot cross them. And you have to have these uncomfortable conversations sometimes. Sometimes they're uncomfortable and sometimes it's a little bit of, calling one another out a little bit, but not in a way that's malicious. It's just like what you're doing is upsetting me. Like I cannot do this and that's cool if I can't do this, but like we need to talk about it.
Exactly.
And
another example, I was thinking there was a person in my life that we became depression buddies, and we were just being negative and depressed together and hating the world and hating everything. And then eventually I'm just like, I can't do this. Like I need to get out of this kind of situation. And I try to set a boundary of like, we just can't be negative nonstop, and that couldn't be reached. And unfortunately the friendship had to end because I was like, I can't be hanging out every evening and just being negative, never depressed, hate the world, hate this, hate whatever, because it was bringing me down. Like other friends of mine were like, something's going on. Like you're really negative, and it was because of this. And I had to move on. But my biggest thing is, and this is like something that's for me annoying to other people, is when I wake up in the morning, like I plan my day. Like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I procrastinate sometimes. I push things back, and so when people start springing things on me midday, I'm like, this wasn't in the daily itinerary. Like I've procrastinated something else all day long, and I need to get it done. So I need to I can't do that. Like that drives me crazy.
That's a dead hint towards me.
Kidding. No, it's not.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
Imagine I just spent the whole time like being like, there's the things about each other.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about you.
This whole time we're just calling each other out on our shit. Like, yeah, we need to set some boundaries. Like, this is how Kyle and I set our boundaries. We do a whole episode speaking about what we want and need, just in general. But it really is targeted towards one another.
We just made an entire episode like being passive aggressive against each other.
Seriously. You know what though? I think that you and I kind of know each other's boundaries. And like, I think that you and I can sense when, listen, anytime there was any type of like administrative work that needs to be done for this podcast, whether it's a new design on Canva, whether it is writing up questions for a guest, anytime that a computer is involved and we need to be typing, designing anything, there is tension. There is a lot of tension because we have different ways of doing things, and someone likes to have like all the control over everything. And I try to do things where it's like I can have my own control without like letting her know that like, hey, I'm actually doing this, typing things up in a different document so she can't like revise it as I'm typing and things like that. And I think that we have learned our boundaries, and now it's funny, but
yeah, because we both had to figure that out. Like that took us a minute to figure out, because here's my side of it. Now that you passive aggressively brought that up, was basically like we would be doing something and it'd be like in Canva, like making a graphic design or something, and I would go through and make sure everything was centered and everything was good. And I was fully open to change, but she would go in and start moving things. And I would be like, I spent 5 minutes making sure everything was like perfectly straight. Now I have to remove everything to get the lines to show up to make sure it's even. And I'm fine with changing it. Don't come in and just start messing it up all of a sudden. Like I would like do something and it'd be perfectly laid out. I was like on the street, and then all of a sudden it'd be like, move. And I'd be like, all that time I spent like just down the drain, And it was just like, so now what we'll do is there'll be something, and then I'll be like, duplicate that. And then do all your stuff to the duplicate in case there's a reason that we need to save some of this so that we have 2 copies so that we can do that. But that was something that we really had to work on, because I get a little irritated. I get irritated really easily over stuff like that. And I try to like work on that a little bit.
And I can sense when she's irritated, and then I'm kind of just like, fuck, is she irritated over this right now? Like I can't. And then I'll be like, well, I'm just saying, like, so we definitely know we did it. It's fun to laugh out when it's over, but
yes,
we definitely had to work through some boundaries together.
Yes.
But I think that's it for us this week. What do you think? Do you have anything you want to Put on and the whole boundaries.
No, I think we broke down the boundaries. I think, we did our service to America and beyond the world of teaching about boundaries. And I think that's, it's been a long episode.
It's been a long episode, so we're going to go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Follow us on all our socials, Blonde Highlight Show, and we will see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.